So she says 92% of people ICE has arrested have no criminal record, and then she slaps her name on that the flyer AOC. All right, Google said this growth driven by non-criminals. About 92% of increase in ICE detention during 2026 fiscal year was driven by migrants without criminal convictions. Right? She's kind of kind of like what do you call that? Echoing the data from Google. Anyone could do that, right? You know, Google, it's also left leaning. All right, guys. So I want to take 60 seconds to recognize my sponsor. Big shout out to shopcampsupply.com. Shopcampsupply.com has everything you need to embrace the outdoors. You don't need to go any further than staying on the home page, essential gears and equipment. Click the right arrow. Everything you need is right there for you to get active in going outdoors and enjoying your time in the wilderness and getting away from the cities. Again, that's Shop Camp Supply at www.shopcampsupply.com. Go check it out. Total detainees data. As of late 2025, early 2026, over 70% of those in ICE detention, about 65, 735 to 68, 990 people had no criminal conviction. So right then and there, as of late, early 2026, that basically saying like during the Trump administration, right? Because I mean, that's a number. Like I said before in my other posts, I said, look, we're barely in the edge of 100,000. You know what I mean? Like nationwide, right? No criminal convictions. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, again, this is, you know, and the context comes from Cato Institute reported that in early 2025, 65% of individuals booked into detention had no criminal convictions. Right? So basically, it's very heavily um, biased, right? We don't know what Cato Institute is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna do any deep research on what Cato Institute is, but probably something that has to do with minority statistics or something. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. The definition of criminal, right? So they're laying down what ICE is deemed to be criminal. ICE sometimes include people with pending charges or immigration only violation in their criminal statistics, which often skew perception of threat level of those arrested. So the definition of criminal matters, right? So if ICE is out there, let's just say checking papers, right? Then and they call that criminal, right? Um, they're just going based off of the status, whether you have citizenship or not, right? Most will argue, especially most that voted for to enforce legal immigration, right? They will argue that being here in the United States or without citizenship or some sort of proof of document is a criminal, right? So, when they're out there asking for ID and your citizenship status and you don't provide it, yes, it's, you know, um, is it a criminal offense to say, hey, it's against my rights to to not provide ID, right? Because you can't just come up and just say, hey, you commit a crime. But it was a person that's right not to provide ID, even if they're a citizen, right? So that's I mean that's gray area, and that's like a First Amendment audit. situation. You know what I mean? Because a lot of citizens, will fight tooth and nail to have the First Amendment rights to be protected, right? So that's where like uh, like the undocumented immigrants have something to stand on as far as being these numbers the way they are. So NBC kind of tallies up their own numbers since Trump's been in office. They got about 68,990 detainees right now. Um, this is current through Jan 8, so this is most recent data I, I looked up today. Um, 25% of that number is um, with criminal conviction. So the 92% um, that Google had up might need to be updated. Just based on that first number alone, just don't look at anything else, right? Because 25% out of 68, what I mean? There's no math to that, what I mean? Because I can understand if you say, oh, well, like 60%, 25%, I have to do some math, right? But you're talking about 25% out of 68,000, you know what I mean? That's like a quarter, if not more. You know what I mean? So yeah, Google needs to be updated, and AOC putting that up right now. She need to update. She need to update herself. Hey, anyway, so uh, pending charges. That's what Google was talking about before. Pending charges, right? And then 48% um, other immigration violators. You know what I mean? So it could be it could be anything, right? You know what I mean? Um, could be visas. You know what I mean? Could be whatever, right? Overstay visas or whatever, right? And then fast track to deportation. That's the criminals right there, right? That's your 9%. So what I mean, okay, if you took that number alone, right, and then you took out the other number, that's where you get your 92%. You know what I mean? So that yeah, you know what I mean. But like with criminal offense, that's crazy. That 24% already got criminal convictions. Like what? Just because when they're not fast tracked, that's when 92% exist. Come on, guys. Come on. All right. Anyway, you know what I mean? We did that. We debunked AOC's 92% flyer. All right, guys. So yeah, that's what we got today. Again, you know what I mean? This is my channel. This is for the entertainment purposes only. I'm not here to battle anybody. You know what I mean? Cause anybody any pain or sadness or anything like that. Just to me, this is I follow these things all the time. So I just want to bring awareness. Whatever awareness I can into the public. Make sure things aren't as biased as it seems. You know what I mean? I know people are heavily passionate on one side or the other. I hope just people can see things a bit more clear and not be so invested into it and maybe focus other priorities and energy into something else way more productive in politics. You know what I mean? But anyway, go ahead, man, and hit that follow, man. Show your boy some love. Have a good day, y'all. Peace.